Singh from Team B. The topic of our team is Gupta administration. In this presentation, me and the 12 members of my team will be discussing about the different topic related to Gupta administration. We will discuss the officials of Gupta administration, the republic's extension of Gupta empire, the Gupta kings, central administration, provincial and district administration, village and town administration, non-official district council, taxation system, and the difference between the Gupta Empire administration and the Mauryan Empire's administration. Thank you. In the introduction to Gupta administration, I would like to say 2-3 points. This empire came to rule after the decline of Mauryan Empire. The period was known as Golden Period because of the extensive development in the field of astronomy, philosophy, art, mathematics, etc. Thank you. Some important officials in the Gupta administration are: kings were designated as Maharaja Dhiraj or Maharajas, Santi Vigrah were foreign ministers, Uparikas were provincial governors. To maintain the outside contact, king uses the official called as Kumaramatyas or Abhyuktas. The Gramikas were there to administer the village, and the official who were looking after the city administration were called as Nagar Shreshthi.
Hello, my name is Padma Patel and my topic is republics. A government having a chief of state who is not a monarch. The major difference between the two, a republic and a monarchy, is that a monarchy is ruled by a monarch, that is king or queen, whereas in republic people choose who they want to rule them. There are two types, unitary and federal. Republic states which had a unitary character were called city, republic or nigams, while republic states having federal character were called state, republic or janpad. There are some important republic such as Yudhe, Lichvi, Sakya, etc. The head of Yudhe, who was its commander-in-chief, had the title of Maharaja, and the Sankani and the head of Sankani had also the title of Maharaja. The principal ones among them were the Madras in the central Punjab, the Kunin in the Kangra Valley, and the Yudhe in south eastern Punjab, the Arjunayan in the Agra Jaipur tract, and the Malav in the central Rajasthan. Alexander's great invasion of theory in India, great invasion theory of India in 326 BC were provided had provided a lot of material to show that there are many parts of India under the republican form of government, not kings. The republican states destroyed by Imperial Gupta, who pursued the policy of extension of empire and that of annexed neighboring states. In Mahabharata, Bhishma Pitava having said that the republic destroyed by its internal conflict between people. The Republicans should always seek to maintain their good relation among the people. The two factors, invasion of foreigners and the rise of Gupta, led to decline and downfall of the republican states in India. We find no existence of republican states in India afterwards. But the existence of the republican states for more than 1000 years, from 600 BC to 400 AD, in 400 AD testify to the inherent strength of the democracy and republican tradition. Their existence for such a long period shows the ancient India nurtured democratic institution and practices. That the republic destroyed by its internal conflict between people. Uh, people the republicans should always seek to maintain their good relation among the people. The two factors, invasion of foreigners and the rise of Gupta led to decline and downfall of the republican states in India. We find no existence of republican states in India afterwards, but the existence of the republican states for more than 1000 years, from 600 BC to 400 AD. In 400 AD testify to the inherent strength of the democracy and republican tradition. Their existence for such a long period shows the ancient India nurtured democratic institution and practices.
मॉर्निंग मैम, मेरा नाम नंदिनी पटेल है। मेरा टॉपिक एक्सट्रैक्शन ऑफ गुप्ता एम्पायर है। गुप्त की नींव चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य के शासनकाल में हुआ था। गुप्त साम्राज्य का विस्तार 400 ईसा पूर्व हुआ था। गुप्त साम्राज्य पश्चिम में गुजरात से लेकर पूर्व में बंगाल तथा उत्तर में हिमालय की ताड़घटी से दक्षिण में नर्मदा नदी तक फैला हुआ था। गुप्त साम्राज्य का पहला प्रसिद्ध सम्राट घटोत्कच का पुत्र चंद्रगुप्त था। चंद्रगुप्त का उत्तराधिकारी 330 ईसा में समुद्रगुप्त हुआ, जिसने 50 वर्ष तक शासन किया। गुप्त काल सांस्कृतिक विकास का युग था। इस युग में धर्म, कला, साहित्य और ज्ञान विज्ञान की अद्भुत प्रगति हुई। इसलिए अनेक विद्वानों ने गुप्त काल को हिंदू पुनर्जागरण या स्वर्ण युग का काल माना है। नमस्ते मैम।
I am present here to explain the topic powers of the king, but before that I would like to explain some more topics. So let us begin. The Gupta Empire of the Indian history is compared to the Periclean age of ancient Greece, the Augustan era of ancient Rome, and the Elizabethan period of the medieval England, for its splendor and excellence to the realms of culture. Several factors were responsible in the glory of the Gupta Empire. More than 2 centuries, the Guptas were establishing their sway over the whole of the northern India, and the imperial writ was obeyed from the Bay of Bengal to the Arabian Sea. And the main theme of the Gupta Empire was unity, peace, and prosperity. Moving on to who could appoint the king. The king is no doubt a very crucial and important personality and the character of the state. So the one who could appoint a king should have the supreme knowledge. In Vedic period, divine appointment and the election was the two prominent methods through which a king could be chosen or selected. Divinity means the person who is going to be a king should have some association with some gods and goddesses that gives him eternal prosperity and piousness and powers to rule over the people. Election is the another method through which a king can be chosen. So in this method, a group of people were collectively gathered and choose a king, and that group of people were superior from everyone else's in the respect of wealth, respect, hierarchy, or so many else ways. In the later Vedic period, casteism was spreading its leg in the society. So the Kshatriyas, most commonly the Kshatriyas got the chance to become a king, but later on the non-Kshatriyas also got the chance to become a king. Coming to the point that what should be the attributes of the king. A king should be enormously strong, wise, vigor and powerful and energetic also. Hereditary monarchy was prominent in Gupta period, so after the king, the next king should be selected from the sons of the king. And if the son of the king is very much capable to administer, then he would be the next king. The another thing is that more importantly, a king must serve Nyayadan, fortify his state, and war security to its people. These are the three premium things or services that a king must give to their people of the state. Now I'm going to discuss the main topic, which is the powers of the king. So during the Gupta period, the powers of the king was increased. As usual, the king was at the center of all the powers such as military, administration, judicial and political. Vested at the center, the king was assisted by his ministers that were appointed and accountable to him. There were no revival of the popular assembly like Samiti that was in the Vedic period during this Gupta period. The general ministry of provincial and town administration and district administration remained the same as was in the modern period during this period. The senior officials were known as usual as Mahapatraks and Rajakas. The secretariat was also functioning as before and serving a link between the central government and the provincial and the administrative administrations, but the ultimate decision was taken by the king only. There were nobody like the central parliament in the Gupta administration to voice the views of people at the capital. Nevertheless, the people of the Gupta administration did not suffer from evil consequences of the autocracy owing to the delegation of large powers to the local bodies. A Chinese pilgrim, Fa Hin, describes that the people of the Gupta Empire were very virtuous, prosperous and happy. And they had no occasion to complain against the high-heartedness and autocracy of the Gupta administratives or the rulers and the kings. Also, Smritis and epigraphies also emphasizes that a good king should be particularly careful in winning popularity among his subjects by respecting their wishes and taking care of their welfare. Now talking about the officials like generals, viceroys and other officials. They were the junior princes who were appointed by the king and accountable to them. There is an evidence that shows that Govind Gupta, most probably the brother of Kumaragupta I, was appointed as the military officials This was given in Prayag Prashasti, and it is also can be this method is also can be seen in the Maurya's administration, that the officials were appointed by the king only. Moving on to the titles. Sri Gupta, that was the founder of the Gupta Empire, and his son Ghatotkacha Gupta got the title of Maharaja. But suddenly, when Chandragupta first came, he was known to be Maharaja Dhiraj Chandragupta first. This is mentioned in Prayag Prashasti. This shows that somehow Chandragupta first was of different powers and different extreme. Again, in some Prayag Prashasti mentions that Lokdhamne Devasya is said for the king Samudragupta. That means God live upon this earth. These are some of the evidences that shows that Guptas somehow profoundly believe in the divinity of the kings, and they support divine appointment of the king. Contemporarily, when we see in South India, the Pallavs do not use these kind of titles. They use variant of the title called Dharma Maharaja Dhiraj. This also on very rare occasions. King was the supreme, and the officials works under him. And on your screen, this is the list that could be followed.
Talk about central government in Gupta's administration. The king took help from Amatyas, ministers, and other officials to run his administration. There are various departments. Each office had its own seal with which communications are stamped. Several seals of officers like Dandanayakas, Mahamatyas, etc. were found. The routine business was transacted by each ministry on his own responsibility, but the important matters were referred to the whole council presided by the king. We got mention of Rajya Sabha in Prayag Prashasti, whose members were known as Sabhya. In Gupta's inscription and Smritis, we got mention of different ministers. The central government was most probably carried on under the general supervision of a chief secretary called Sarvadhyaksha. People seeking audience were guided by the Pratiharas. Mahapratiharas were in charge of court ceremonial. They also look after the security of the Raj Mahal. The military department. The military department was the most important department under the direct charge of king or Yuvaraja. There were a large number of Mahasenapatis working under the king, probably posted in different parts of the empire. Mahadandanayakas, who belonged to the next lower grade, appears to have corresponded to the lieutenant general of the modern age. Dandanayakas were probably of the rank of colonels. The fighting force. The fighting force was divided cavalry, also known as Aswapatis or Mahaswapatis, elephant corps, known as Pilupatis or Mahapilupatis. In Prayag Prashasti, we got the mention of different weapons like Parsu, Sanku, Tomar, Bhindipal, etc. The foreign ministry was given a new name, Mahasandhi Vigrahikas. There were several Sandhi Vigrahikas under him to assist him in the work. He worked in close cooperation with the military department. Which kingdoms were to be annexed and which were to be permitted to remain in feudatory status was to be determined by this ministry. Basically, this was the department of the war and the peace. The designation of the head of the police department was not known. Dandapasikas, referred to the seals from Vaisali, were probably officers of the police of the status of the modern police superintendents. Ordinary members of the police force were probably known as Chata and Bhata. The revenue department was in charge of the collection of the taxes and revenues which were paid partly in cash and partly in kind. The government had to maintain big granaries at several places. Forests and mines, which were the state properties, were probably administered by this department. The administration of wasteland, which were also owned by the state, was left in charge of the village councils in whose jurisdiction they were situated. The ecclesiastical department was in charge of another minister, probably called Purodha or Purohita. They seem to have discharged functions similar to those of the Dharma Mahamatas of Ashoka, like regulation of public morals, supervision of charity and temples, and promotion of education. Trade and Industry Department was under another minister. He is not mentioned in records, but his subordinate officers Rangikas figure in contemporary inscriptions. This department is most probably in charge of roads and rest houses also. So, these are the things that we got to know about the central government in Gupta administration from the different sources. Thank you. Trade and Industry Department was under another minister. He is not mentioned in records, but his subordinate officers Rangikas figure in contemporary inscriptions. This department is most probably in charge of roads and rest houses also. So, these are the things that we got to know about the central government in Gupta administration from the different sources. Thank you.
And district administration. A study of the Gupta inscription shows that there were an hierarchy of administrative divisions from top to bottom. The empire was called by various names such as Raj, Rashtra, Mandal, etc. It was divided into provinces, which were called as Bhukti, Pradesh, and Bhut. Provinces were divided into Vishas and put under the control of Vishapatis. Vishas were divided into Nagas, which were divided into villages. A part of the Visha was called Vithi. Smaller units or divisions of a village was called Agraha and Patha. For this first time, the inscriptions give us an idea of a systematic local administration in the Gupta period, which assumed many new dimensions. The series of North Bengal epigraphs mention the Adhistadhikaran Municipal Board, which is Ayadhikaran District Office, and as the Kuladhikaran, possibly the ruler. The full Adhistadhikaran is said to consist of 4 members: the Nagar Sethi, Guild President; the Sartava, Chief Merchant; the Prathamalika, Chief Artisan; and the Prathamakashrath, Chief Scribe. The significance of Ashtakuladhikaran is unknown, but in one example it is said to be headed by the Mahattaras, village elders, and also includes the Gramik, village headmen, and the Kutumbins, householders. Provincial administration. The head of the provincial administration was known by various names, and some of them as Uprika, Gupta, Bhogika, Bhogpati, etc. There are references to various provincial officials such as Baldhikarnika or head of the army or military, Dandapashadhikarnika or the chief of the police, Ranbhandarika or Chief Justice Vinay Chitipaka, Minister of Law and Order Sadhanika, or official to deal with debts and fines Hiranya Samudayika, or Currency Officer Tadayuktaka, or Treasurer Officer, or Darangika, or Collector of the Udrang Tax Arunasthanika, the Superintendent of the Silk Factories, etc. District or Vishay Administration. The head of the Vishay Administration was the Vishaypati or District Magistrate. District Magistrate or Vishaypati was assisted in his work by the Mahatras or village elders, Gramiks or village headmen, saltikas or collectors of customs and tolls, treasurers, etc. There were many classes in the department whose duty was to write and copy out the records and documents. The writers were Lekhaks and Diviras. The officer in charge of the documents was known as the Karnika.
माय टॉपिक गुप्ता विलेज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ग्राम शासन की सबसे छोटी इकाई है जिसका प्रशासन ग्राम सभा द्वारा होता था। ग्राम व्यवस्था गांव के मुखिया के अधीन होता था जिसे ग्रामाध्यक्ष कहते थे। ग्रामाध्यक्ष की मदद करने के लिए ग्राम पंचायत होती थी। वाकाटक व पल्लो राज्यों में उसके सदस्यों को महत्तर करते थे। शायद गुप्त साम्राज्य में भी वैसी प्रथा थी। गुप्त साम्राज्य में ग्राम पंचायत को जनपद कहते थे। नालंदा में अनेक जनपदों की मोहरें प्राप्त हुई जिससे यह अनुमान किया गया है कि ग्राम जनपदों के बाहर भेजे जाने वाले लेखपत्र इत्यादि उनकी मोहरों से अंकित किए जाते थे। ग्राम जनपद के सभासद कैसे चुने जाते थे इसका उल्लेख नहीं मिलता है। ग्राम पंचायत सरकारी कर वसूलते थे, शांति सुव्यवस्था का प्रबंध करते थे, ग्रामीण लोगों के झगड़ों का निवारण करते थे और ग्राम के निवासियों की जमीनों का सीमा निर्धारण करते थे और नाबालिगों के हित का ध्यान रखते थे। प्रायः ग्राम की सुरक्षा के लिए प्राकार और खंदक का व्यवस्था करते थे। ग्रामीणों का मुख्य व्यवसाय खेती होता था। इसके अतिरिक्त वह बढ़ई, कुम्हार इत्यादि कार्यों करते थे। जनता की आवश्यकता की पूर्ति के लिए व्यापार, तेली इत्यादि कार्य भी गांव के लोग करते थे। मौर्य नगर व्यवस्था के समान गुप्त साम्राज्य का नगर व्यवस्था पुरपाल नामक अधिकारी करता था जिसे अमात्य कहते थे, जिसके लिए अलग कमेटी होती थी। यह भी ग्राम पंचायत के कार्य की तरह कार्य करता था। गुप्त काल के अभिलेख में दिखता है कि नगरवासी चाहते थे कि वे एक गांव में सभा भवन का निर्माण हो, पानी का व्यवस्था हो और मनोरंजन की व्यवस्था की जाए, जिसके लिए ग्राम पंचायत हमेशा तत्पर रहती थी उनके लिए और वह ग्राम के लोगों के लिए सुरक्षा के लिए प्रकार और खंदक की व्यवस्था करती थी। धन्यवाद।
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम, मेरा नाम प्रियंका कुमारी है। गुप्ता एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में मेरा टॉपिक टाउन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है। मौर्यकालीन नगर व्यवस्था के समान गुप्त काल में नगर व्यवस्था पुरपाल नामक अधिकारी करता था, जो प्रायः कुमारमत्या के श्रेणी का होता था। नगरों का प्रबंध नगरपालिकाएं चलाती थी। संभवतः इनकी मदद के लिए एक गैर सरकारी कमेटी होती थी। जूनागढ़ अभिलेख से पता चलता है कि गिरनार नगर का पुरपाल चक्रपाली था, जो सौराष्ट्र के राज्यपाल पर्णदत्त के पुत्र थे। उसी ने सुदर्शन झील बांध का पुनः निर्माण कराया था। गुप्तकालीन अभिलेख दिखाता है कि नगरवासी चाहते थे कि उनके नगर में एक नगर सभा हो, वे पानी और मनोरंजन इत्यादि का प्रबंध हो। नगर कमेटी इस विषय के योग में ध्यान देते थे और प्रायः नगर के चारों ओर संरक्षण के लिए विभिन्न प्रकार के खंडक रखते थे। थैंक यू मैम।
My topic is non-officially district council. There was no body like the central parliament, the Gupta administrations, to voice the view of the people at the capital. But there is evidence to show that there were district council to advise and assist the district administration. This seems to have been an administrative innovation of the age. This council here been an administrative innovation of the age. This council consists of the chief banker, the chief trader, the chief artisan, the chief kayasta, writer, and several other members. The Faridpur plate third shows that the district council often consisted of about 20 members, some of whom like Kulashwa, Min and Shubha Dev were Brahmins. Some like Ghosha, Chandra and Ghuna Chandra were non-Brahmins. Member of this non-council official member were called Vishakya Maharathras. Seals of the council were called Vishakya Matharas, have been founded at Nagaland. How the members of the Vikhashya Matra council were elected into state in the Gupta records. The terms Prathama Rishthin and Prathama Saratha were suggested that very probably the guidelines of the bankers and the traders were represented by their president. As far as the remaining members of the council are concerned, it would appear that different classes were represented by those persons among them who had acquired preeminent status by their age and experience and characters. Thank you.
माई सेल्फ प्रेरणा मिश्रा। मेरा टॉपिक टैक्सेशन है और गुप्ता एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में जितने भी टैक्सेस लगाए गए थे उसके बारे में हम यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन करेंगे। सबसे पहला टैक्स पाली था जो कि मॉडर्न एरा में देना स्वैच्छिक था। इट मीन्स कि उसको देना है या फिर नहीं देना है ये पीपल वहाँ के डिसाइड करते थे, बट गुप्ता एरा में वो कंपल्सरी हो गया था। जो नेक्स्ट टैक्स था वो भोग था जो कि कल्टीवेटर्स के पर लगाया जाता था और वो अपनी उपज का 1/6 पार्ट राजा को दे दिया करते थे। थर्ड टैक्स जो था वो भोग था जो कि किसी भी काइंड के गिफ्ट, फ्लावर, इन सारी चीज़ों पे लगाया जाता था। और नेक्स्ट टैक्स जो था वो हिरण्य था। हिरण्य मीन्स गोल्ड और ये टैक्स गोल्ड पर लगाया जाता था जो कि कैश में उसको पे किया जाता था। नेक्स्ट टैक्स जो था वो हली बकरा था और ये टैक्स जो किसान अपनी खुद की खेती में पत्थर पटिया और बाकी चीज़ों को लगाने के लिए, सिंचाई जैसी चीज़ों को लगाने के लिए जब कोई चीज़ ऐसा इंस्ट्रूमेंट खरीदते थे तो उसमें उन पे टैक्स लगाया जाता था। नेक्स्ट जो टैक्स था वो कारा था और वो विलेजर्स पे इरेगुलर टाइप का टैक्स था जो कि लगाया जाता था। शुल्क जिस टाइप से बॉर्डर टैक्स होता है या फिर टोल टैक्स होता है वो उस टाइप का ही था। वहाँ पे जो भी उस टाइम की रोड्स हुआ करती थी उसमें लगाया जाता था। नेक्स्ट था उड़ीनंगा। ये सोशल सिक्योरिटी टैक्स था कि सामाजिक तौर पे लोगों की सिक्योरिटी के लिए टैक्स इसको लगाया गया था। और लास्ट जो था वो लिप था। वो भूमि के क्रय विक्रय, सेल और परचेस करने पे वो सारे टैक्स को लगाया जाता था। ये गुप्ता पीरियड का टैक्सेशन चार्ट था। नेक्स्ट टैक्स मॉडर्न एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का था जिसमें पहला जो टैक्स था वो दुर्ग के नाम से जाना जाता था और जो मंदिरालयों में और मंदिरों में और जेलों में लगाया जाता था और वहाँ से इनकी आय होती थी, यानी ये सारे टैक्सेस वहाँ से आया करते थे। दूसरा टैक्स जो था वो राष्ट्र था जो कि बोट पर और चारागाहों पर और रोड टैक्स के रूप में राष्ट्र को लगाया जाता था। सीता नेम का जो टैक्स था वो राजकीय भूमि यानी जो सरकारी भूमि टाइप से होता था उससे वो लोग लगाते थे और उससे वहाँ की आय होती थी। उसके बाद भाग था जो कि पर्सनल जो लैंड होता था, वहाँ जिनका लैंड होता था वो खुद पे किया करते थे। फिर बलि था जो पंडित पूजा वूजा टाइप से उसमें जो उन्हें भेंट मिलती थी उस पर वो टैक्स लगा के उनसे लिया जाता था। उसके बाद हिरण्य था, जैसे कि गुप्ता एरा में भी हिरण्य था जो कि कैश मोड में लिया जाता था। नेक्स्ट चोलास टैक्सेशन पॉलिसी थी जिसमें जो लैंड टैक्सेस लगाए गए थे उनके लिए पुरावु टर्म का यूज़ किया गया था और वो टैक्सेस जो थे वो किसानों की फर्टिलिटी के अकॉर्डिंग था कि अगर उनके पास जिस साल जैसी खेती हुई हो उसके अकॉर्डिंग वो 1/3 और 1/6 पे करेंगे। नेक्स्ट कॉमर्शियल और ऑक्यूपेशनल टैक्सेस था जिसके लिए पेरू वजही टर्म यूज़ किया गया था और उसमें जो हाईवेज रोड्स होते थे जिनसे कॉमर्शियल गुड्स पास होते थे तो उन कॉमर्शियल गुड्स पे टैक्सेस लगाए जाते थे और इसको जनरली जो है वो उल्कू और संगम के नाम से जाना जाता था। नेक्स्ट जो था जो माइनर ड्यूज था उसमें जो टैक्सेस लगाए गए थे वो लोगों से लिए जाते थे और छोटे छोटे टैक्सेस जैसे पोल टैक्स हो गया और कल्टीवेटर पे एग्रीकल्चर लेबरर पे ऐसे टैक्स लगाए गए थे और इसको अतिकर पोन टैक्स भी इसके लिए टर्म यूज़ किया गया था। उसके बाद था फीस एंड पेमेंट्स नाम के टैक्सेस थे जो कि अच्छे रैंक के लोगों। राष्ट्रकूट पीरियड की टैक्सेशन पॉलिसी के बारे में बात करेंगे। राष्ट्रकूट पीरियड में जो लैंड टैक्स था उसमें लैंड ओनर को लैंड के अलावा प्रोड्यूसिंग टैक्स, मेंटेनेंस टैक्स और भी बहुत सारे टैक्सेस को पे करना पड़ता था। वो भी उसकी ज़मीन की फर्टिलिटी के अकॉर्डिंग था, जैसे उसकी ज़मीन होगी उस अकॉर्डिंग उसको टैक्स पे करना होता था और इसकी रेंज 8 to 16% तक थी। नेक्स्ट जो और आर्टिशंस के ऊपर टैक्स लगाया गया था जो कि जैसे शीप हर्डर्स, शॉपकीपर्स और ऑयलमैन्स, वीवर, पॉटर, इन स्टॉल ओनर्स, इन सारे लोगों के ऊपर छोटा छोटा सा टैक्स लगाया गया था। ओवरऑल हम देखते हैं कि सबसे जो रिलैक्सिंग टैक्स का पीरियड था वो गुप्ता एरा ही था क्योंकि उसमें बहुत सारे टाइप के टैक्सेस थे बट टैक्स की इतनी ज़्यादा क्वांटिटी नहीं थी और जबकि राष्ट्रकूटास पीरियड में बहुत ज़्यादा टैक्स लगाया गया था और इसके अकॉर्डिंग मौर्यन एरा भी ठीक था, उसमें भी अच्छा मतलब सॉलिड चीज़ों पे टैक्स लगाया गया था और चोल एम्परर भी। ओवरऑल गुप्ता एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन सबसे अच्छे टैक्सेशन में सबसे अच्छा था। थैंक यू।
Hello everyone, I am Nida Fatma and I am here to represent my topic difference between Gupta Empire and Modern Empire। गुप्त युग के जो शासक थे वो अपनी दैवी शक्ति में विश्वास रखते थे। वह परम भट्टारक महाराजा थे, राज एक राट परमेश्वर जैसे विशाल उपाधि धारण करते थे। समुद्रगुप्त को पृथ्वी पर निवास करने वाला देवता कहा गया, जबकि इसके विपरीत मौर्य वंश के जो शासक थे वह दैवी शक्ति में विश्वास नहीं रखते थे। गुप्त युग में रानियों का विशेष महत्व था। वह कभी कभी अपने पति के साथ मिलकर शासन का कार्य करती थी। कुमार देवी ने अपने पति चंद्रगुप्त प्रथम के साथ मिलकर शासन चलाया था। प्रभावती गुप्ता ने वाकाटक के राज्य के वंश का संचालन किया था। गुप्तों में सामंतों का उदय हो चुका था। समुद्रगुप्त ने अपने जीते गए अधिकांश राज्यों को अपने साम्राज्य में सम्मिलित नहीं किया था, बल्कि उनके राजाओं को अपने अपने क्षेत्र में स्वतंत्र रूप से शासन करने का अधिकार प्रदान किया था। अधीन राजाओं के अतिरिक्त सम्राट के पास अनेक छोटे छोटे सामंत हुआ करते थे जो अपने अपने क्षेत्र में स्वतंत्र रूप से शासन किया करते थे। बुंदेल पूर्वी मारवा में सनकानिक, बुंदेलखंड में परिव्राजक और उच्च कल्प जैसे वंशों के शासक गुप्तों के सामंत हुआ करते थे। ये सामंत विशेष अवसरों पर सम्राट की राजसभा में उपस्थित होते थे और भेंट उपहार आदि देकर उन्हें संतुष्ट किया करते थे। जबकि मौर्यों के समय में हमें सामंतवाद का कोई उल्लेख नहीं मिलता है। गुप्त वंश में पहली बार फौजदारी एवं दीवानी मामलों का अपराधों से संबंधित कानूनों की व्याख्या प्रस्तुत की गई, जबकि मौर्य युग में हमें इसके कोई साक्ष्य नहीं मिलते हैं। गुप्त युग में दंड विधान जो था वो अत्यंत कोमल और मृदु था। फाहियान के विवरण से हमें पता चलता है कि दंड विधान अत्यंत कोमल थे। मृत्युदंड का प्रचलन नहीं था, ना ही शारीरिक यातनाएं दी जाती थी। जबकि इसके विपरीत मौर्य युग में जो दंड विधान था वो अत्यंत कोमल था। मृत्युदंड का प्रचलन था, जैसे पशुओं को नष्ट करना आदि पर जहाँ कौटिल्य दंड विधान मृत्युदंड का विधान देते हैं, वहीं गुप्तकालीन स्मृतियाँ केवल प्रताड़ित करने का विधान देती हैं। गुप्त युग में प्रथम बार ग्रामों तथा नगरों में स्थानीय शासन का विकास किया गया और ग्रामों को वास्तविक अधिकार प्राप्त किए गए, जबकि मौर्य में ऐसा नहीं था। वहाँ ग्रामों को वास्तविक अधिकार प्राप्त नहीं थे। गुप्त युग में गुप्तचरों से जनता जो थी वो संतुष्ट थी, दुखी नहीं थी, जबकि जो मौर्यों में जो गुप्तचर विभाग था वो पूरे देश में उनका जाल फैला हुआ था। वह जनता के निजी मामलों में भी हस्तक्षेप किया करते थे, जिससे जनता दुखी रहती थी। तो इस प्रकार हम देखते हैं कि गुप्तों की जो शासन व्यवस्था थी वह मौर्यों से किस प्रकार भिन्न थी।
Some topics related to Gupta administration discussed by my team. In the conclusion, I would like to say that the Gupta Empire was very well organized and developed on the both level, center and provincial level. These were some qualities because of which they were known as the Imperial Guptas. This empire was the longest running empire in the Indian history than many other empires. At the end, I would like to say that it was a powerful empire ruled in every area. It has the strong economy, administration, security, peace, etc. Thank you.